pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bramble, minutes and claims, please.
We've got minutes for March 15th and April to be approved.
There are no questions. I will approve the minutes. That's not a motion to approve.
Oh, second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Are you doing both sets at the same time?
Yes, so said.
And we've got claims for March 26th to April 1st in the amount of $3,098,716.38 plus $1,039,787.05 payroll for a total of $4,138,503.43.
Brandon, you want to try to add those up real quick?
I'm good. Want to do them both at the same time then?
Should we?
Do it separate.
Make a motion to approve the claims for March 26th, April 1st, for the total amount of $4,138,503.43.
And next, we've got the claim docket for March 19th through
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor, by aye.
Usually me that says this.
Who seconded? I missed that.
Mike.
Mike.
Aye. Any opposed?
I did it backwards, so now we need to do the 19th to the 25th.
19th to the 25th. And we've got claims from March 19th to 25th for $1,867,764.86.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims March 19th, March 25th, amount $1,867,764.86.
Question. That's okay. No, Jim, Baker Tilly, is that ongoing, that program that you were establishing, or is that,
Where's that at?
it's on the first page here? Yeah.
Professional services, $37.85.
Oh, that's probably, I think that is for financial report.
Their financial report,
Yeah.
not the, yeah, okay, right.
What departments are coming out of?
Auditor.
Because we just paid one for the other two.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and right below that, Peterson that's related to the annual report too. They take care of our fixed asset
Oh,
report.
yeah, it's asset. Second, Mr. Burns.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kern, second by Commissioner Morris. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I would make a motion to.
Are we done?
No, we got another one. Ready?
Go.
Next, we got claim docket for March 12th through 18th in the amount of $1,432,139.60 plus payroll of $1,067,481.96 for a total of $2,499,621.56.
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thanks, Mr. Bramble. You got a motion for, we got minutes for bid openings too, don't we?
No, I think you got it.
Oh, we already did that.
First one.
They were yesterday.
Yeah, we have one thing yesterday.
Oh.
Take care of mine, man.
Yeah,
She's done it all.
okay, we got April 5th bid of
Actually, you haven't approved those. You've already introduced those initially.
that need approval. Well, they seem to do, you did,
March 15th is what I wrote down.
and they did approve them both at once.
Yeah.
So we still need to approve the opening minutes from yesterday, or no, we're done?
No, they're done.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. Number 3 on here is proactive MD contract. Commissioner Kearns, you want to talk about this?
This is just keeping our relationship going with our employee wellness health clinic that we have. The contract that we've been operating on was an automatic renewal. It was a contract established, if I say 12 years ago, is that right? 10 years ago? Yeah, so, and not everything, but it's not germane to what the current operation is. They've changed ownership, so they presented a new agreement. A couple changes that we've made were to eliminate the rolling date. We actually have that it expires within 12 months after the contract is signed from the effective date, or what they call the initial term. It would need to be renewed. Mutually agreed by both parties. Another thing they changed, they added a patient advocate, which is an employee that works with our insured employees that use the clinic to help them through their path of getting better. And they now have, or will have, access to another location, what they call the Proactive MD Health Center, which is near what I call Riverside Plaza. Is that what you guys call it? It's the old.
Overall stress for less back there, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Town South Plaza.
Town South Plaza?
That's what it was.
Yeah, Riverside's the other one, isn't it? It is. Yeah, so in between there.
It's the old Tokyo.
So that's Monday through Saturday, excluding holidays, Saturday at the other facility, Saturday hour stop at this one. So those are the changes, the main changes that have been made. It's been reviewed by our attorneys, and we've got the green light to move forward with it. It does, in my opinion, it improves the services for healthcare for our employees as we continue to find ways to make healthcare access better for our employees, both mental health care and physical health care. So I think that mission continues.
I can't remember, Brendan, was it something automatically renewed, or?
Yeah, that's the one that, here's the best way, you'll see it, Chris, it says my concern there on the bottom right. As you go down, zero my concern.
Okay.
It just says it expires in 12 months, whereas the current contract that we're operating under just has a constant renewal. And I think we need to get away from those. Right?
Mike, do you have any more questions?
No, after many hours of negotiation, I'm quite comfortable with it. I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All in favor, by aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, guys. Brendan, good work on that, thank you. Number 4 is resolution number 2022-03. It's a resolution assigning tax sale certificates to the Low Income Housing Development Corporation Commissioner. Sean, are you in here?
Yes.
I think this is just a small sliver of land that's between several Terrell Housing Authority properties.
Right,
Is that right?
the entire 2,000 block of Blaine on the west side is all parcels where low-income housing corp have developed or are developing properties. This was the only outlier of that. And so they have been, but they do have a good track record of showing where they develop the property properly and into nice houses.
You guys are familiar with this, aren't you?
Yes, we're just transferring over to them so they can move forward with it.
Just one person.
North end there. Yeah. Yeah. I reviewed it.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, by
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, John. Number 5, construction change order by our lovely engineer. Later on.
This is a first change order for Bridge 322, which is the bridge on 13th Street over Lost Creek. This is a negative change order of negative $65,225.52. We have changed materials. We were originally going with galvanized reinforcement for the bridge. We have since backed that off due to price increases and things, so when we switched materials, we were able to save a little bit of money, so, which always helps. So,
Where's the bridge, Larry?
13th Street over Lafayette, or over Lost Creek,
So what kind of action do you need from us?
just approval to accept the change order.
Just for educational purposes, that's in the city, but all bridges, with the exception of a handful of them, we are responsible for. So that's why we're doing this for bridges in the city limits.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
And Mr. Robbins, you get a bit of warning for the by 2 minutes materials.
So yesterday we opened bids for our bituminous materials, our annual bids. Liquid asphalt, we had one bidder, asphalt materials. All those items were roughly about 15% higher than what they were last year. And then we also had opened a bid for surface material, patch material, attack from Milestone Contractors. All of those bids were about 30% higher than they were last year. As you can see, we're getting into the issue of having material cost more and more. So roughly the big takeaway on that one is asphalt is now gonna cost us about $97 a ton for surface. When I had one bidder for each, I would still recommend that we accept the bids, so that we can still continue to do our road preservation, road paving projects.
Discussion. It's unfortunate because this increase is gonna affect how much paving we do or have planned to do drastically. So,
Larry, the projects that we had locked in last season, that we're gonna be doing this season, pricing still in effect, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So, one of those, we encumbered funds for McDaniel Road, which we first paid out, and that is still for last year's prices, so that price is locked in. And then our community crossings projects that we did, they're still locked in at that price, so they're a separate project, so those bids are tied to those numbers.
So we saw issues with Spring Hill and Clinton Street as far as our estimates and what came in, there being quite a difference, so we couldn't move forward with that. Do you see us being in more of a pickle because of this?
No, like Chris said, I think what this is really gonna impact is the amount of paving that we do every year. It's gonna impact, I mean, we can't, if it costs more, we obviously can do less. The thing that we, going forward that we've been trying to establish is a road preservation policy and process, so that we take care of these roads after we pave them. That way they last longer. So if they last longer, then we're gonna get a better return on that product, rather than, paving it, letting it deteriorate for 20 years and then mill it up and pave it again. If we do these proper road preservation techniques, we may be able to get 40 or 50 years out of the surface treatment.
Well, I know after our sticker shock, which I'm toning that down considerably, from what was presented to us yesterday, we met afterwards to talk about alternative systems and technologies to kind of, I don't want to say avoid paving, but we're going to have to. Because that, thinking back, I've only been doing this for 3.5 years, and if my number's right, what is now $91 a ton was $68.
Yeah,
Just
97
years ago.
$97 a ton, but yes, when I first started at the county, it was about $68 a ton.
So the numbers are kind of strange because I was using a figure for 2021 of 89,000 to 91,000 a mile.
Mm-hmm.
When I got in 3 years ago, it was between 72 and 78,000 a mile.
Yep.
So when we look at how we've been smart budgeting, preparing, using the road rating system that you've employed to be strategic on what we pave, we're screwed in the sense that, we're shorting ourselves by probably 6-7 miles a year, which doesn't sound a lot. When you look at Louisville Road, for example, when we did that project, our original plan, I think, was to do 3 miles. And then we looked at it and we thought, no, let's go ahead and knock the whole thing out because we had the money. Now we can't do stuff like that. We did Lakewood subdivision in 2 phases. That was about a $500,000 total project. I know Chris has neighborhoods in your district that you're looking at. That's what's gonna hurt us. So when this one contractor, because we don't have any others, we have one contractor, we have a monopoly on this, we have no choice. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I think it's important for people to understand what we go through in this, that we want to pave as much as we can. We are good with the dollars. We work with the council. We try to stretch everything as much as possible. It ticked me off, I'm doing better in my language, yesterday when they used the excuse of fuel. And petroleum products are in asphalt, we know that. But fuel costs impact all of us the same. And to use that as an excuse to raise asphalt materials by 30 cents a mile is a disservice, or 30% a ton. I guess it still works out to the mile. It's nuts, but I hate that phrase. It is what it is. But all of us drive in other counties. I think our roads, bar none, are better than the surrounding counties. And I don't want to upset our commissioner friends on the outlying counties, but it's true. People complain about, what's a road we get daily complaints about now that we're paving?
Hasselberger.
Right, and Hasselberger is okay if you drive the speed limit. If you're driving 60, it's bad. But that's the only road that really comes to mind as far as bad roads right now, and we're making concessions.
You've been driving
To pave.
60 on Hackleburger?
I can't. Well, in that one vehicle that I had, I can't drive anymore. But no, but people, I don't know, I don't want to keep ranting, but it's tough for us. But we'll make it work.
Well, I think one of the important things that you're gonna see is, as we move to some of these road preservation procedures and policies and changes, we're trying to make these asphalt roads that we are resurfacing now last longer. So in the past, we would have resurfaced the road, walked away from it for 20 years, and then when it went to, when it deteriorated, we would come in and either mill it up or overlay it and do it again. What we're gonna try to do now is when we resurface that road in year 2, year 3, we're gonna crack seal it. We're gonna keep that moisture out of the subgrade. And then year 5 and year 6, we may come back to a chip seal or a rapid penetrating emulsion or something like that to help preserve that surface treatment and seal off that moisture. Because moisture is what deteriorates all of these, and every road's gonna crack no matter what you do to it. So if you can take care of it, it's almost like maintaining your house. I mean, if you have a leak in your roof, you fix it. That's just kind of what we gotta do. So our infrastructure will then last us longer. We will get some pushback because a lot of people are gonna say, well, you just paved that road, now why are you doing something else to it? But to justify that, we are trying to make it last longer and improve it longer. So in the long run, it's the best thing to do because you can stretch your dollar out and make it go farther, because now that road that wasn't gonna last you 20 years is now gonna last you 40 or 50.
Well,
So
for
it's not gonna
education
see,
purposes.
it's not gonna be a quick return on that, but in 5, 6, 7 years, you're gonna start seeing that paying off. And like you said, our roads are gonna continue to improve, and we're gonna have, roads more up in that 7 to 8 range and down in the 4 to 5 range.
Well, we did an experiment last year with Hunt, because Hunt needed repaved, but we tried this new surface. What do we call the surface?
It's chip seal. If it was a cape seal, we chip sealed it and then we fog sealed over it. We are gonna come back this spring and put a micro seal over it, which would be a full cape seal at that point.
But that had a limestone component in it.
Yeah, so we chip seal, we put the emulsion on there, put the chips over top of it, which is the limestone crushed stone, and then we fog seal over that.
And the problem, public-wise, was it's ugly. It looked awful, but Mike and I rode our bicycles on it 2 weeks ago. And while it looks ugly, it's not bad. But this next coating will make it look better.
Correct. When we do the full cape seal on it, which will be the micro seal over top of it, it will smooth a lot of that out. It should look more like a traditional road, but some of these roads are gonna look a little different because of what we're doing, and we're trying to maintain that structure, and that integrity of that pavement.
Well, the perception for the public was we did a shoddy job. And that's because they're used to seeing the nice, smooth black pavement. But what they're not seeing is the preservation techniques does keep it nice and safe for a longer period, so.
Correct.
I guess that'll be just education on our part.
For, just to put that into context, I mean, we can do that chip seal and for roughly $20,000 to $25,000 a mile. Like you said, our asphalt resurfacing is up to $100,000 a mile, so we can do 4 times the road with chip seal that we can with asphalt. We've also looked at, when we do resurface some of these roads, maybe milling them up and doing, some pug roads as well, things that we haven't done traditionally around here in a while. So all of those are, you just gotta choose the right places to use those types of roads.
So what does that mean by milling it up?
So we'll mill it, we'll take 1.5 inches off and then come back with a fresh coat of 1.5 inch surface. But when we do that, we keep the millings, and what we do is we recycle those millings, crush them, and we can make basically a cold mix of asphalt that we can lay out with paper.
And then put a seal on top of it.
Correct, and then seal it on top, either chip seal or a fog seal.
Thanks for the info as always.
Well, I did reach out to 4 counties yesterday and asked about their prices. They're all the same.
Of course they are.
But 2 counties told
Good,
me, 2 counties told me that we're fortunate because we have the plant in our backyard where the trucking fees for them destroy their per month cost to truck the asphalt from here to there.
Okay.
So it does get a little bit more expensive the further out you go from the plant.
Yeah, there are several counties that do their own paving just for that simple fact. They're still paying $97 a ton, but they're coming and getting it.
So usually if they're doing a project, they don't have milestone bringing in their trucks. They're using their own trucks like Larry just said, to go get it.
Well, in that case, gosh, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Yeah,
We're getting such a good one after all.
I don't know, it's this job, all 3 of us working, and obviously, as stated, we had a plan. And this plan has fallen on some hard times, but we'll make it work. It's just, we had a good plan, and we do have a good plan, and we will continue with it. When you get to these kind of unanticipated cost increases, it'll give you a warm fuzzy feeling, I guess. Motion.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
you. Comment from commissioners or other elected officials? Mr. Grable?
Next meeting, we gotta have some decisions on this ARP plan.
Yep, we have a meeting.
Primarily, what you wanna do about revenue replacement, because that has to be reported by April 30th.
Thanks for the reminder. Anybody else? Diane?
Yes, I have more of a question. And I don't mean to stir the pot, but I would like to know what safety measurements we have in place for our government building. I've been here 1.5 years almost, and I don't know what those are, other than picking up the phone and trying to find where John is. We've had a couple incidents last week in my department. I need to know what it is. I think our job as elected officials, commissioners, this is your building, you control what happens. In 1,000,000 years, I never thought that the school corporation would have to have a sheriff sitting at the front door letting our kids in, and I'm proactive. I don't want something to happen in this building, and we could have done something. It's just like the FBI building several months ago. If we need a committee to get it started, I'd be happy to form that, but I just want to know what I need to tell my people if I have an irate person that comes in. Go ahead.
Well, something to piggyback off of what Diane's saying, and I think I spoke with Tammy and I did speak with Tommy. And I know there's something coming along with the electronic locks for the doors like the auditor has in the treasury. And I know we don't have money in our office, but I can tell you, in the past 2 weeks, I've had at least 6 people just walk through our door into our office. Now, there's a counter there for a reason, It's for our protection and for theirs. And it's like it just gets bypassed. So absolute minimum, I would like an electronic lock on our door so that the people can get in and out with their badge instead of having to unlock with a key all the time. And at least at that point, that stops just anybody from walking into our office. I
And
mean,
I
at
did
one
talk-
point, I had someone just come in and plop down in a seat across from me, which happens to be a homeless person, which I don't have anything against homeless people, but
Was illegal.
it just lets you know what happens. And that happened twice, 2 days in a row.
Was he trying to sell you the 10 I gave him?
No, actually, he just came in and sat down and I said, can I help you, Josh? And he said, no. And then he's sitting in the chair and he's whirling around my office and
He did the same thing up here.
He was admiring my artwork.
I just think there's a huge safety issue there.
And I talked to
What
John
Ryan
Burns
said.
about that and about the electronic locks like they have. And he said when they're redoing all of this.
Right, and I knew you had said that issue's gonna, which is the only reason I wanted to bring it up. So I guess maybe to some of the other offices don't have, I mean, maybe all the offices need.
Well, and I
I
guess
thought
they're,
they all did, so they don't.
Diane's office doesn't have one, Kevin, your office doesn't have
Our
one.
office does not.
Treasurers does or not?
Treasurer's does.
but when I talked to John Burns about that, he said they are not replacing the boxes outside of the office and putting them in. It's just all like the computer stuff. So like Kevin they would have to pay to have a box put so they could scan in and out.
Well, I think that we could quickly act to try to find somebody to.
Well, I'm confused, as always. I thought that the sheriff's department did a walkthrough because we were surprised that they were doing it without us knowing. Am I thinking of something else?
No, they did do one
Yeah.
about 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so that has been done. Was that done in this building?
Correct.
So were the results shared with us? That's a loaded question.
I think it's more of just a training.
No, this was when we had a problem in one of the departments and the sheriff's department walked through.
So we'll get in touch with whoever did that walkthrough and then we'll move forward. Is that, gonna be part of that
And
discussion?
realistically, it's not far-fetched to think that there needs to possibly be some active shooter training of some sort.
Oh, yeah, we are well aware of that, yes, because of the situation.
Cheryl.
Can I was gonna say, can I say something? This was started, of course, unfortunately, I'll just go back, I've been here way too long. But years ago, years ago, it was started that there was supposed to be a whole security written for this building. Okay, commissioners had talked to someone, I'll leave out of it, to write security for us. Now, and every time I go to conference and we've been given, this has been being asked on our reviews now too, other counties, what is your security protocol? You should have something written. And that means not only the safety of your employees, the security protocol, it is your backups to your servers. It is,
Risk management plan.
it's a whole plan, and I always say, well, we've been working on that
We
for
get-
about 10 years now.
we
We
get-
have it for IT.
I mean, so I get, and things seem to be getting worse. We get the same customers at our counter, so I'm with Diana. And I know there's always a priority on stuff, but I think you're to the point, we've let it go long enough that it needs to become a priority.
Well, and with that being said, they're working on having one entrance to the front right here, having security set there, people have to walk through like they do at the courthouse.
Yeah, I've heard that before, 5 years too. I'm just saying,
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, we are in the
That-
process of doing
I
it.
think
In
it's
all
kind of a
fairness, that was
priority
in motion. And then, you know,
of
we were
the
ready to
building.
do it, then we found out that the building was collapsing or.
Yeah, so I mean, that's been going on for 2 years.
So, it's,
and so that's all I'm saying. I think it needs to become a priority of the security of and safety of the employees. To add to that, when you're talking about safety and security, to be honest, nobody has a plan if we had a fire in the building.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, at one time, I don't know if it's before you, Brendan, or not, but we had fire alarms go off, and it does happen quite a bit. However,
I wanted to.
this
pull-
time there really was, and they wanted us out of here, and half the people are still sitting in their offices, and all of a sudden the firemen are walking through telling us, you need to be outside. And so I think that we need to have some type of training with them to know, just kind of like school,
you know,
if we have customers at our counter, where are we supposed to take them?
Right.
Which direction? You know, where do you want them to meet up at? Where do you want them to go? What exits do you want us to use? I mean, and I see Bill shaking his head, am I not, this,
I have to do all of that, and
I know
I
what
have
this
to
is.
do quarterly fire drills with the entire building for the state, and they have to exit, they have to empty. If they got clients, then they have to walk them out. They're all assigned staging areas where they're supposed to go to, all the offices, and then we check those areas to make sure they have all of their people out and all of that. So it is, and the people you see here, we see at my building, I see them coming in and out of this building here when I'm down here. And you have the clients that come to the public defender's office and get lost looking for that. I mean, not to scare people, but they are violent people. My lobby is secured. We don't have the security as far as the deputy, that's going upstairs. But when they come into my lobby, it's secure. They can't go anywhere. We went as far as in my front office area, I put bulletproof glass in because I had a guy run his fist through the window that we had there because the secretary was on the phone and wasn't answering him quick enough. So he knocked out the window with his fist to get her attention. So, I mean, you just can't anymore. You're talking about the people walking in. I have a guy who continually walks in our lobby who's homeless. I've known him for years, and he starts rambling and ranting and screaming and, upsets people. And so I get what you're saying here, and you're right. They have free access to anything down here.
And that's granted, the protection and the safety of our employees is a huge deal, but that's also the protection and the safety of the taxpayers, the petitioners that come in the building. If they come in and they're standing in the main area walkway between my office and the treasurer's office, and not necessarily a fight, but a verbal issue comes out, that upsets people. I mean, it makes people leery. It's for everyone's protection that something needs to be figured out.
Most of you know, we had the fire at the community corrections building. Brandon, you were here then, I think, weren't you?
No.
It was right
No,
before you came, but
I saw them all
was
lined
here.
up along
Yeah,
the road.
That was a case where someone got in the only door on that building that was not on the alarm system. Got all the way into the upstairs and set an office on fire because one door was not on the alarm system, and that's the door he picked. Since then, the whole front of that's all been changed because of that. But and in that case, the fire drills we talk about, and people sometimes moan and groan. But that night, I had 3 staff people who got 68 people out of that building in 4 minutes. Out of the dorms, offenders, because we make them do it all the time. We make the offenders exit, we keep control of them. So, and that night, sprinkler systems are going off, smoke's everywhere, the ceilings were falling in on them from above. So, I mean, unless you're in one of those situations, you don't think about it. What are you going to do when it starts happening? Fortunately, my people, we drill them enough on it. They knew what to do. Each person had a responsibility. They got them all out, thankfully. But so it made us rethink a lot of things that we do after that and how we handle it. So I get what you're all saying. I mean, everyone's at risk. I mean, we just are anymore. You just can't predict anybody or what they may do.
Back in October of last year, the Chief of Operations Director, Derek Fell, did send the 3 commissioners a email that says that he is, for 3 consecutive years, he's asked for 3 additional security personnel, 2 for the courthouse and 1 for the annex. That has not been accepted, but he's gonna ask again this year. That would give another floater for over here and 2 more floaters over at the courthouse. And then second, it says we will soon be implementing a lockdown, lockout procedure, which will primarily be used for the courthouse to secure the courthouse in case of a threat. But we'll be happy to apply this same process to annex as well. This was in October, so I'll reach out to him and see if he can come over here and and make that happen.
Chris, they applied that to our building as well, that security that you're talking about, we agreed over there.
And, Diana, to make you feel more comfortable and Kevin, you too probably, there's an A, B, and C of this process. And lockout, lockdown procedures, active threat or serious crime, if it's in place in the county building, they'll be involved really quickly. That would be gunfire, an active shooter, bomb threat, suspicious package, violent protest, or riots, hostage situation, or natural disaster.
There's a thing on the phone.
Yeah. And, so I'll reach out to him again and make sure he comes back over here to that.
As we're looking at those past communications in September 28th, they did the active shooter training. And we have to be careful what we say right now because we don't want to let the public know what our security plans are. We'll work that internally, but at the time, they recommended a certain set of doors be closed, which I supported, but that was overruled. So just sharing that with you that in September, I made a recommendation to have only one door open, and that was overruled. So maybe that needs to be revisited.
Well, and not only that, we don't have security to set at that door.
Right. Right.
But still having one point of entry is better than having five.
Absolutely, Brendan, we learned that.
Oh, yeah.
Fewer access points they have, the safer you are.
I mean, it's one point entry in the courthouse, isn't it?
In theory,
And then you got three sheriffs sitting there, when you go through. I mean, I honestly think one point of entry, you would not believe the people that come through our door.
You
I
don't,
mean,
you don't believe the people that got weapons and you don't know it.
no, and some of them are mad. They're mad about something. We have, it's just, I'm just really concerned. I'm concerned with the safety of, obviously, our employees, but our customers who come in. You want to feel safe coming in doing their business. It's just, I think I've seen too much now, just working in a year and a half how people can be. I want to be proactive.
The one thing that everybody has to get used to, and I'll shut my mouth, but when you start creating security, people have to realize you lose freedom of movement. And that's the first thing people start bitching about.
That's
When
okay.
you increase security, you take away freedom of movement, and then people start complaining, and they have to get used to that. So that's the one thing my staff had to learn when we tightened up a lot of things in our building
What's
was
that mean though?
you just can't move freely all the time, where if there's a lock on a door and it's a card swipe, it's a reason. And you may not have access to that door anymore. Somebody else may have access, but you don't have access. And when people that used to be able to open that door go in it, can't open it no more, they start griping and complaining. And Jared's laughing because he's heard all this. He knows over when the sheriff's department tightened down the courthouse,
Yeah.
man, there was people
We got
upset.
phone calls about that,
And-
yeah.
And it was at my building. I've got certain doors that I've got staff that they can't go through certain doors with their card because they don't need to be there. So that's the thing people have to be aware of too, is when you take away when you provide them more security, you take away their freedom of movement, and they don't always like that.
and that was the issue in September when we went to lock the building down, when that was what the advice was. Their employees, that was going to affect where they park.
Yeah.
And they couldn't park in the proper area, which is a whole nother issue. But enough of the employees were upset that it was decided to not do it, because they didn't want to have to walk a little further.
Diana, maybe you're right with the committee thing. We'll talk about that, and then we will loop that all in with Derek. It's also kind of, it's not worrisome, but, our sheriff's office is not gonna be 2 blocks away anymore. It's gonna be 2 miles away now. So the response time, although City of Terre Haute's pretty close too, that's kind of worrisome too. But
Kind of going on what Bill said, they did, you obviously, depending on however you want to do, you can, have certain people who are, allowed to, come in and access the other doors, the other entrances that are now public, so. Because that's, again, what the courthouse does, they have a main public entrance, and then certain individuals have access to the other. So, I mean, it can be different levels depending on whatever the circumstances are.
It did in my building when we changed it and gave certain people access that didn't have access anymore. They weren't too thrilled about that.
When the laws are gonna change as far as carrying handguns, say July, June, so it's something to think about, so.
Any more discussion about building safety? Thank you, Diana, I appreciate that. I mean, Kevin, I didn't know that you didn't have a, oh, yeah, I did because I walked in one day.
You're the one he's talking about.
I didn't know.
And just to make it clear, when I had spoke with Tammy, she did say something was in the process of getting done. It may take a couple months, so
And I
that
did get
was
hold of John
something.
Burns and asked him, and he was on vacation, it took him a week to get back with me, but that's when.
So I
we
did
discussed.
know that you were working on getting something done, but I just, since Diane brought it up, I thought.
Well, it's not much of getting, I mean, it's getting something done, but the old system is just antiquated. The technology is
Well,
just.
but the thing is, the box, he has to have the box put in the door, and they're gonna have to rewire it and do all that stuff.
And you were limited to the number and now that's increased or something like that.
All right, anyone already asked any more questions about building safety or anything like that? Any more comments from elected officials? I will say the convention center grand opening's at 10 o'clock on Saturday. If anybody wants to go, we'll do a ribbon cutting, all kinds of activities for kids. Anybody wants to do it. Any comments from the public? All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Really, that's not in 2 weeks.
And I'll be in here again.
It'll be in here. Thank you.
And I mean, really,